Yeah, there are a lot of YouTubers to me who give a lot of wrong information. Um, but unfortunately, man, it's like it's just the game. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's the hardest part about me, for me being a YouTuber filmmaker, is because I know a lot of shit that they talk about doesn't mean anything, but if you want to kind of get somewhere and get you that audience, if you will, you got to kind of like, bend over, if you will. I don't know, dog, but I just can't do it. I
Yeah,
can't,
there's
I
definitely
can't do it.
a little bit of schmoozing, you know.
It's a little bit of smoothing in there. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? And Patrick Tomaso talked about this. I don't know if you follow him, but he's a pretty cool dude.
you're dropping a lot of names
Um,
that
yeah, dude,
I
I
feel
watch
ignorant.
YouTube. No, I watch
Like,
YouTube. But the people I watch, the people I'm giving you names on, like they're really good. Like they're really really good. And I'm definitely gonna send you like Zach and Patrick. They're two YouTubers you want to know of. But he talked about this too. And even when you get products, like most YouTubers who get products, you're gonna kind of like dick ride the product a little bit because you want it again. Like you're gonna want them to come back and be like,
here's some
yeah,
more. We just
small,
came out
yeah,
with a
here's some
new thing,
more.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
and even
that'd be
with
nice.
me, even though it'd be nice, right? Don't get me wrong. Listen, King, I get a lot of shit. I get a lot of free shit, bro. I do. You know what I mean? I really, really do. Like, however, at a point, it's just like, okay, what am I gonna do with this? Like, I have two of these, three of these. It's like, yeah, I could sell it, but then it's like, it's not like when you get it, you can instantly sell it the moment you get it. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta, it's work. So, um, I'm just at a point where I know I'm at a point in my filmmaking career, and I think this is why it's difficult for me to be a YouTuber, where I know this shit does not matter. Like, knowing how to sell is the biggest thing that's gonna get you clients. Knowing how to sell. Like, if you know how to sell yourself, that's what's gonna get you clients. You having the red Komodo X or the red V Raptor, that does not get you booked. It helps like in a skill set, right? Like, oh yeah, you have familiarity with this camera, yeah. But let's be honest, I could easily lie to anybody who asks me that, and then just go rent the camera or go to a Magnanimous rental. I can go to a Magnanimous rental, like, yo, can I test this camera out for a little bit? Get my bearings with it. Boom, yeah, I know everything about this camera.
Or even just the standpoint of just renting it just to use it on that production, saying that you have it,
Right?
and that's like,
How would they know?
that's totally fine, especially if the camera is not like
So
a crazy outrageous price for that amount of time. If you're making, you're breaking over way over even or whatever, and it makes sense, then do it.
right. And if you a DP, 9 times out of 10, you're probably charging for your camera package, right? So they're like, yeah, we want to use a V
True.
Raptor. You could just charge
The
the rental
kit.
fee of what the rental house is charging you, and
Yeah.
maybe even upcharge it a little bit.
Yeah. True.
So,
Business
and this is why we
Brooks.
sent,
Brooks business class.
like, this is what I mean by like, like that shit don't matter, bro. Like, I'm booking clients, and I've had $16,000 projects off of A7S3
Hmm.
and FX3s. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I've had high dollar amount projects with quote unquote mirrorless cameras. No one's ever saying like, "Oh man, listen, we paying you this much. You need to come out here with an Ari Alexa." Like, no,
Right.
I sold them a product. They bought the product. They believe in it. Boom, here we are.
Right.
There are some DPs who won't make that amount, of one project, and they got the best camera ever. It's like, yeah, bro, because that shit don't matter, dog.
No, it doesn't. But
So,
in
and
some
speaking
ways,
of
it does
which,
matter. But go ahead.
okay, so let's talk about that. And what ways does it do matter?
Sure. So I think the thing that changes a lot of that is how the camera actually works on a production. If you're using a
Mm.
DSLR on a production, one, you're going to look like a little funny, like using like a small DSLR, like on a big production
Yeah,
where you have like,
yeah,
lots of grip scaffers,
yeah,
production
yeah.
design. But the other part about that, it's just like, it's just so practical is that you need to be able to send feeds to everybody who wants to see what's on like what the image actually looks like.
Mm,
There's a lot of
mm,
people who have stake who are involved that didn't necessarily that don't necessarily participate in the creative of the production,
Hmm.
but have to make sure the project satisfies the needs of somebody else. So you'll see, I mean, like I've shadowed on some larger productions, as well as like just being a part of larger productions. I mean, I didn't experience this part myself, but just watching like I remember watching this director, and he had two walkies on, walkie talkies on his body, and they're rigged up to his ears, and then he had a headset on top of that. And it was just because he had to communicate to client that was like in some rooms over, just like I just imagined they're just in a room sitting eating Cheetos and like looking at a monitor, which is like that's fine. They get a little vacation, and they get to just like watch a monitor and just say like, oh, it's going well. But like he's getting
I ran this
feedback
project.
from all these people, you know, um, and it's just because like that whole situation of being able to send those feeds, and now we do it to Zoom too, you know. So even the big boss man that doesn't want to necessarily leave his office can look at the feed too and have an opinion.
Mm.
So the difference between, I think the main difference between these small DSLRs and like a larger camera is like the image is a minimal part about it. And, when we're talking about area and stuff like that, color makes a big difference too. But like the main thing is like, can it work on a large production? And you can build it out and you can like, make it chunky and do all these other things. But you have to do quite a bit to get something like an FX3 to work on a larger production. They talk about the movie Creator a lot. I wonder how many FX3s they ran through. You know,
They said they had like 5 or 6 like ready at any given time. You know what I
right?
mean? Like,
The speed is
so
ridiculous, probably.
yeah. So I listen. I hear exactly what you're saying.
Hmm.
I do. I do think that not everybody is in that arena.
Hmm.
I think the problem is right now you have people who are buying cameras
Yeah,
who want to be in that arena,
yeah.
but truthfully they're just not there.
I have mixed
Nine
opinions on
times like
that. Mixed feelings. Go ahead.
you have mixed feelings.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of touch on that. I feel that you buy the tools for the job that you have and that you need, right?
Hmm.
Like so for example, me buying a red camera does not make sense for the line of work that I do. I can make an excuse on why I quote unquote need it, but realistically, my product will still be the same, more or less,
Yeah.
even with the red camera. So why
Maybe even
spend?
worse in some ways.
Maybe even worse, right? Because now my overhead is much higher because I got to worry about storage. Now I need more lenses. Like there's a lot
You don't
more.
have autofocus.
Honestly, yeah, yeah. Like I'm
Like,
losing. Honestly, I'm losing by having a certain camera system.
yeah.
So, what's your? It seemed like you had an opposing argument to this. What's your opposing argument?
Well, the thing is like I'm a man of the tools. I love owning the thing that I'm going to be using, getting used to it, knowing it in and out and all that. I don't live in Chicago, but I work in Chicago. So for me to like rent out a camera all the time and just like to play with it that way isn't super practical. It's a trip there and back, um, which isn't terrible. But just being able to own the tool, to pick it up and go and like have it ready, not have issues with it, or just I know you can get cameras, you can get them like basically formatted, like the whole camera where the settings are brand new. But I don't even want to have to, bother with that so much. Airy does make it easy. You can just put in a thumb drive and then all your settings are pretty much loaded. But from like a standpoint of how cameras are kind of drugged through the mud at a rental house, it's like you don't know what you're getting sometimes. And that camera, hopefully it works the way it should. But there's a chance that you might have some weird issues. But rental houses do take care of their stuff pretty well. But it's for me owning the tool, getting used to the tool, and then having the ability to get up and go and possibly like donate the camera to a production for a cheaper price, but still get a piece of that kit fee if I'm like really passionate about the idea, but they can't necessarily afford, you know, $1,500 a day for an Alexa Mini LF. You know, I probably, you know, depending on how I'm doing, I already paid the rent for that camera. That camera already paid its rent for the month, you know, for it to actually hit the amount that we need to pay for.